Coworker found out my boyfriend was a trust fund kid and crawled into his bed. 2 months later, she sauntered over to my desk, nose in the air. I'm pregnant with your boyfriend's baby. You should back off now before things get ugly. Whose baby? I froze. The rich boyfriend she was talking about is a woman. So whose baby was it? The moment I walked into the office, my coworker Amber slid up to me with a sly grin. Mia, she purred. Who was that dropping you off downstairs? I played along. My boyfriend, of course. Her voice dripped with a sour mix of envy and teasing. Well, keeping a secret boyfriend from us, are we? I saw the car. It was gorgeous, she nudged me. So when do we all get to go out for dinner and meet this mystery man? My best friend, Alex, is tall, has an androgynous look and recently chopped her hair short. So half-jokingly I call her my boyfriend. She'd let me crash at her place last night and gave me a lift to work this morning. I never thought anyone would see, but Amber had taken the bait, hook, line, and sinker. Now she wanted a double date. I couldn't help but smile, brushing it off, maybe some other time. Her face instantly soured. She rolled her eyes. What's that supposed to mean? You think just because your boyfriend has money you can hide him away? So much for being besties. The passive-aggressive tone was grating. She wasn't done. Are you afraid we'll steal him away? Worried you don't quite measure up to his status? She sneered. Don't get too comfortable. Rich guys like him stick to their own kind. You'll probably be dumped before you know it. That was it. My relationship is none of your business. I was about to swing my Chanel bag right at her smug face. Jessica, who shared our office space, saw the storm brewing and quickly stepped between us. Mia, calm down. Amber's just having a bad day. Our other colleague, Geeta, moved to hold Amber back, who looked ready to lunch. That's enough. I lowered my bag, a cold smile on my face. Apologize right now or I swear I'll rip that gossiping mouth right off your face. Amber knew she crossed the line and with both coworkers telling her to back down, her eyes welled up with tears. I wasn't wrong. Why are you all taking her side? With that, she shoved Geeta aside and stormed out of the office, slamming the door behind her. Jessica gave me an awkward smile. Yeah, don't mind her. Amber's fresh out of college. She doesn't have a filter. Just maybe be careful she doesn't get too close to your boyfriend. I didn't say anything. Just sat down and buried myself in my work. My best friend is a woman and she's very, very straight. Amber would need to sprout some new anatomy to have a chance. After that day, Amber started watching me secretly. I'd feel her presence and find her standing right behind my desk trying to read my phone over my shoulder. Just then, a message from Mr. Evans, one of the general managers, popped up. Mr. Evans, Miss Kim, the Grand Astoria is doing a new buffet brunch. Mr. Evans must have figured out who I am. Ever since I started this internship at one of my family's subsidiary companies, he'd been engineering chance encounters and asking me out. I was typing out a polite refusal when I felt that prickling sensation on the back of my neck. I whipped my head around, Amber peeking at my screen again. I instantly locked my phone and stared her down. She just picked up her water bottle and walked away as if nothing had happened. Once she was gone, I texted Mr. Evans back, telling him to focus on his work. Then I replied to a message from Alex. As luck would have it, a friend from college was having a birthday party at an event space right next to the Grand Astoria. She'd invited both me and Alex. Alex was texting to coordinate a time to pick me up before leaving work. I touched up my makeup. Geeta winked at me. Getting all dolled up for a hot date, she teased. Guess we won't be seeing you tomorrow morning, huh? As I applied my lipstick, I realized we might be out late, maybe even hit an after party. I nodded. I might be late tomorrow. Could you do me a huge favor and clock in for me? You got it. The second the clock hit 5, I was downstairs sliding into the passenger seat of Alex's electric scooter. Geeta watched us go, sighing wistfully, a rich, handsome boyfriend. Some girls have all the luck. A few feet away, Amber watched us pull away, a thoughtful expression on her face. Then she hopped on her own scooter and pulled up a map on her phone. We partied until almost 11 p.m. before a few of us decided to hit up a karaoke bar. As Alex went to get the car, I glanced across the street and saw a familiar figure emerging from the Grand Astoria. It was Amber. Was she having dinner there? Alex pulled up to the curb and the thought vanished. I got in the car and we drove off. The next day, Amber was back to her old self. The constant staring stopped. Without her eyes boring into the back of my head, I could finally breathe and use my phone in peace. But something else had changed. Amber's makeup and outfits grew more elaborate by the day. Rumors started flying around the office that she must have snagged a boyfriend. One morning she walked in swinging a Louis Vuitton tote, casually flashing a new Van Cleef and Arpels bracelet on her wrist. Jessica gasped. Amber, you look amazing. And that bag spill, your new boyfriend bought it for you, didn't he? Geeta leaned in, her eyes wide. That bracelet looks super expensive too. Is it real? Amber lifted her chin, basking in the attention. You like it? It's Van Cleef. Cost over $3,000, she said, feigning nonchalance. My boyfriend knows I love nice things. He saw it and just bought it for me. No questions asked. Jessica and Geeta fawned over her, admiring her new trinkets. I glanced over once and lost interest. You could spot the cheap knockoffs from a mile away. Suddenly, Amber was standing in front of my desk, reaching into her bag. Just then Mr. Evans appeared at the office door. His eyes darted to me for a second, then settled on Amber. He scanned her new bag and bracelet, his expression darkening. Amber, he said, his voice flat. My office now. Amber's voice went sugary sweet. She shot me a triumphant smirk before sashaying out. I watched the bizarre little performance, shrugged and went back to my work. I never could have predicted what would happen when she returned. She slapped a piece of paper down on my desk, a lab report. Then she stood over me, looking down her nose with an air of absolute victory. My eyes snagged on the bold letters at the top, pregnancy confirmed. I'm pregnant, she announced. I blinked, stunned. It was all I could manage before blurting out, it's not mine. The whole office went silent. Everyone was staring. My response threw her off for a second, but she quickly recovered, her smugness returning. Sorry to break it to you, but your boyfriend fell for me the moment he saw me. Her voice turned sharp. I'm pregnant with his child. You need to back off now before things get really ugly. Jessica and Geeta were frozen, their mouths hanging open in shock. I told you you'd get dumped, didn't I? Amber continued, her hand drifting possessively to her bracelet. And look at you now. I'm carrying his baby. It won't be long before I quit this dead-end job and become a trophy wife. A trophy wife, pregnant by another woman's man and scheming to marry into wealth. No family with real money would ever let a woman like that through the front door. And she kept saying it, my boyfriend. Good Lord, I was single. What boyfriend? I frowned, mentally rewinding through my entire life. No boyfriend to be found. Just to be clear, I asked carefully, which one of my boyfriends are we talking about? Geeta let out an audible snort. Amber's brow furrowed. Taking me completely seriously, she actually started defending my non-existent man. Wow, so you're a cheater too? A woman like you has no right to compete with me. She was on a roll, now lost in her own fantasy. Once I have his son, his family's entire fortune will belong to us. Her voice was a giddy, non-stop stream of delusion. Remember the Grand Historia? 2 months ago, I knew I was destined to marry rich. It only took one time. The Grand Historia. My mind flashed back to my college friend's birthday party. But my boyfriend is a woman, and we never even set foot in the hotel. So whose baby was it? She'd been watching me, spying on my phone for weeks. She had gone to the wrong room, mistaken someone else for my boyfriend. This was a disaster. But a pregnancy was no small thing. I couldn't let my stupid joke ruin her life. Look, that baby definitely isn't. She cut me off. Don't you dare try to talk me out of this. I am not getting rid of this baby. You need to break up with Mark now. If you don't, I'll tell him what a cheater you are. I almost laughed out loud. Then I saw the bracelet and bag again. If this Mark had bought her things, they were obviously still in contact. He had to know about the baby. Why was I trying to be the hero here? She'd made her bed, so I played along. If he wants to be heartless, then so can I. I'm blocking him right now. I put on a show of furious tapping on my phone. And I hope you have a whole litter of boys for him. She smirked. Glad you know when you're beaten. The swagger of a conquering hero. She strutted back to her desk. Across the room, Jessica and Geeta exchanged a look and quietly went back to their work. Once the pregnancy was out in the open, Amber began acting like the office princess. She was constantly ordering people around, even pawing off her work on others. Guida, sweetie, could you get me some water? The break room is so crowded, I'm afraid someone will bump into my tummy. Jessica, could you print this for me? The printer is so far and my legs are aching. She started wearing oversized maternity clothes, even though she wasn't showing. She'd wander the office, one hand protectively on her flat stomach, sighing dramatically. Oh, everyone was right. Pregnancy is so hard. Being a mother is the toughest job in the world. I'm barely a few weeks along and I just feel so delicate. Then she turned her attention to me. Mia, I'm not an unreasonable person. I know you and my boyfriend had a past, but that's over now. She paused, then snapped her fingers. I'm craving one of those gourmet grilled cheese sandwiches from that place downtown. Go get one for me. She patted her stomach, and make sure it has extra bacon for the baby. I was already swamped with work and now this. The incessant chatter was one thing, but treating me like her personal assistant was another. I ignored her, pretending I couldn't hear. Over the clutter of my own keyboard, she marched right up to my desk and shoved my keyboard aside, slamming into my water glass, sending a wave of water across my desk, soaking a stack of documents. Are you deaf? I'm talking to you. I want a grilled cheese. Pregnancy had turned her into a monster. Ordering Jessica and Geeta around was their business. But did she really think she could push me around? Frantically, I righted the glass, my face darkening with fury. You want one? Go get it yourself. Are you looking for a fight, you idiot? Her face contorted. How dare you talk to me like that? I picked up the half-empty glass, ready to douse her with the rest of the water. Geeta rushed over and grabbed my arm. Mia, stop. Think about it. If something happens to her, it'll be a nightmare for you. It's not worth it. Fuming, I slammed the glass down, shot Amber a death glare, and went to reprint my ruined files. When I got back, Amber was waiting, her eyes fixed on my empty hands. Where's my sandwich? She demanded. I ignored her. And so the drama continued. I'm so hungry, she whined to the room at large. I just asked for one little sandwich, and she couldn't even do that. How did I end up with such a useless, uncaring coworker during my pregnancy? I slapped the fresh stack of papers onto my desk. If I'm so uncaring, then quit. Find a new job with a new set of maids. I mean coworkers who will wait on you hand and foot. I smiled sweetly. All I've got for you here is a slap. You hungry for that? Humiliated and sandwichless, Amber shrieked. You can't talk to me like that. I'll have Mark fire you right now. You see, if I don't, I raised an eyebrow. My name is Mia Kim. My father is the founder of this corporation. The office I was interning in was just one of our many branches. Who the hell was this Mark that he thought he could fire me? The King of England. Please do, I said, leaning back in my chair. Go find your Mark. Tell him to fire me immediately. I'd love nothing more. You just wait. Don't come crying to me when you're out on the street. She stormed out, slamming the door again. A little while later, she came back looking as if nothing had happened, though she couldn't quite meet my eye. I crossed my arms. So when am I getting fired? Did your Mark give you a date? Her confidence was gone, but she tried to bluff. Mark is a very busy man. He doesn't have time for petty things like you. You should be grateful. The second he has a free moment, you're done. I watched her performance with amusement. Good. I'll be waiting. It was becoming clear her boyfriend was probably some middle manager in this branch. All it would take was a quick search for Amber to find out who I really was. But she hadn't bothered to do her homework. She was so blinded by her fantasy of marrying rich that she thought her Mark was more powerful than me. It was pathetic, really. Unwed and pregnant, trying to leverage a baby to climb a social ladder that didn't even exist. But still, I was curious. Who exactly was this Mark? Then I remembered her snooping on my phone, and a name flashed in my mind. Oh, I think I knew. It's due to copyright reasons. About 10 seconds before the video ends, there's a way to watch the next episode. I stared at Amber's back as she disappeared through the office doors. Then I pulled out my phone and opened the message history. There it was. A name she'd probably seen when she was snooping over my shoulder weeks ago. Mark Evans. I nearly laughed. Mr. Evans wasn't some middle manager. He was the general manager of this entire subsidiary. And more importantly, he was my father's right-hand man. Amber had somehow managed to mistake my boss for my boyfriend. But that still didn't explain the pregnancy. I opened the company directory and searched Mark Evans. His profile appeared immediately. Executive General Manager. Married. 2 children. I stared at the screen. Oh, this is going to be spectacular. Geeta leaned over my shoulder. What? I turned the phone toward her. Her eyes widened. Wait, that's her Mark. Apparently. Geeta covered her mouth. Jessica came over. What are you two laughing about? I showed her. Her jaw dropped. He's married. With kids. Jessica slowly sat down. Amber thinks she's about to become a trophy wife. And she's pregnant. The three of us stared at one another. Then Geeta whispered. Please tell me you aren't going to expose her. I smiled. No. Their expressions relaxed. I'm going to let her expose herself. That afternoon, Amber strutted back into the office carrying another expensive-looking shopping bag. She dropped it onto her desk. Mark sent me something. Jessica glanced over. What did he buy? Amber smiled smugly. Something for the baby. She opened the box. Inside was a tiny gold bracelet. Geeta's eyebrows shot up. That's really expensive. Amber touched it reverently. He wants his son to have the best. I nearly choked on my coffee. His son. She didn't even know the baby's sex. Amber caught me looking. What? Nothing. I smiled. Congratulations. She narrowed her eyes. You sound sarcastic. Not at all. I returned to my computer. I'm genuinely excited to meet the father. Her face twitched. You won't. Why? Because Mark is private. Of course. I nodded solemnly, especially married men. The office went dead quiet. Amber's face drained. What did you say? I turned toward her. I said married men usually value privacy. How dare you? She grabbed her bag. You've always been jealous of me. She stormed away. Jessica stared after her. Did you just? Yep. Gita whispered. You're evil. I prefer efficient. But Amber wasn't finished. The next morning, the entire office received an email. From Amber. Subject. Maternity arrangements. She announced that she was pregnant and would require special accommodations. She requested a private parking space, a larger office, reduced workload, flexible hours, and somehow, reimbursement for prenatal meals. Mr. Evans replied within 5 minutes. Please come to my office. Amber walked in smiling. She came out 20 minutes later looking like she'd seen a ghost. She didn't speak to anyone. She simply sat at her desk. Then her phone rang. She looked at the screen. Mark. She answered immediately. Hello, honey. Her expression changed. Whatever she heard wiped the smile off her face. But you said. A pause. You told me you weren't married. Another pause. Her voice dropped. Then who is your wife? I stopped typing. Gita slowly turned toward me. Amber's eyes widened. She hung up. For several seconds, she sat completely still. Then she stood. She marched straight toward me. You knew. I raised an eyebrow. Knew what? You knew Mark was married. I found out yesterday. Her breathing became ragged. Why didn't you tell me? I stared at her. You wouldn't have listened. She looked away. He's leaving her. Is he? He said he loved me. Then why did he sound surprised when you called him? Her face crumpled. He said the baby couldn't be his. The room went silent. I leaned back. Then whose baby is it? Amber's eyes flicked toward me. And for the first time since this whole mess began, she looked genuinely afraid. I don't know. I blinked. What? I don't know. Her voice trembled. The night at the hotel. I was drunk. I remembered the Grand Astoria. She'd followed us there. She'd seen Alex's car. Then she'd apparently gone upstairs looking for the man she thought was my boyfriend. But if Mark wasn't the father, who had she actually slept with? Amber suddenly grabbed my wrist. Mia. I pulled my hand away. Don't touch me. I need your help. You've spent 2 months trying to steal a boyfriend I don't even have. I know. She was crying now. I know I messed up. That's an understatement. She wiped her face. I thought he was rich. You thought my best friend was a man. I know. And you slept with someone at a hotel because you thought I was dating him. She couldn't answer. I stood. Then find out who you slept with. She looked at me helplessly. I can't. Why? Because I don't remember. That was when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I opened the message. Mia, we need to talk. Underneath was a photograph. My stomach dropped. It was a security camera still from the Grand Astoria. Amber was standing outside a hotel room, and beside her was a man I'd never seen before. But there was something else. The room number was clearly visible. I zoomed in. 1816. My blood ran cold, because I knew exactly who had been staying in room 1816 that night. And it wasn't Mark Evans. It was my father's biggest competitor, the man currently trying to buy our company. I looked at Amber. Congratulations. She stared at me through tear-filled eyes. What? I turned my phone toward her. You didn't sleep with a rich man's boyfriend. I smiled. You slept with the one man who could destroy my entire family. Amber's face went white. Then my phone buzzed again. Another message. And your father has no idea yet. Amber stared at the photograph as if it had just crawled out of a nightmare. Who is that? I zoomed in. Victor Hale. Her lips parted. Who's Victor Hale? I looked at her. You really don't read the news, do you? Victor Hale was the CEO of Hale International, the company that had spent the past year trying to acquire one of my father's largest subsidiaries. He wasn't merely rich. He was ruthless. And 3 weeks earlier, my father had rejected his final acquisition offer. Since then, Victor had been buying shares through shell companies and poaching our executives. If Amber had slept with him, there was a very real possibility that her pregnancy had just become a corporate weapon. I grabbed my purse. Where are you going? To find out exactly what happened that night. Amber followed me. I'll come with you. No. But, you've already made enough decisions without knowing what you were doing. She stopped. I turned back. If you want my help, stay here and don't tell anyone about the photograph. She nodded quickly. I walked straight into my father's private office. He was sitting behind his desk, reading a report. Dad. He looked up. You're supposed to be working. I found something. I placed my phone on his desk. His eyes landed on the photograph. His expression changed immediately. Where did you get this? An anonymous number sent it to me. He picked up the phone. Who is the woman? Amber. She's an intern in my department. And the man? Victor Hale. My father stood so quickly his chair rolled backward. Get my security team. Already calling them. He looked at me sharply. You knew about this? I found out 10 minutes ago. He stared at the photograph again. Then his phone rang. He answered. What? His face became darker with every second. Repeat that. A pause. How long? Another pause. Locked down the server room. He hung up. I crossed my arms. What happened? Someone accessed our acquisition files last night. My stomach tightened. What files? The files concerning Hale International. I looked at the photograph again. Amber had been sleeping with Victor. Someone had accessed our confidential files. And someone had sent me proof. This wasn't an affair anymore. It was a setup. My father grabbed his jacket. You're coming home with me. No, Mia. I started this. You did not start corporate espionage. I might be able to finish it. He stared at me. I smiled. Besides, Victor thinks I'm just an intern. My father slowly shook his head. You've always been too much like your mother. I'll take that as a compliment. It wasn't. It sounded like one. For the first time that morning he almost smiled. Then his expression hardened again. Do not confront Victor. I won't. Do not contact him. I won't. And stay away from Amber. I paused. That one might be difficult. Why? Because she's pregnant. My father's eyebrow rose. Is that my problem? No. I smiled. But it might become yours. He frowned. I walked out. When I returned to the office, Amber was waiting. Well. I sat down. Your baby's father is probably Victor Hale. She nearly fell out of her chair. Victor Hale. Yes. She covered her mouth. Oh my God. There's more. I told her about the stolen files. Her face changed. I didn't steal anything. I didn't say you did. But I didn't. I believe you. She stared at me. Why? Because you're many things, Amber. I paused. Smart isn't one of them. She looked offended. That's rude. It's accurate. She crossed her arms. So what do we do? I opened my laptop. We find out whether Victor knew about the pregnancy before you did. Amber swallowed. How? I smiled. You're going to call him. Her eyes widened. What? And you're going to put him on speaker? I can't just. You want to know who the father is? She nodded. Then stop acting like a damsel and make the call. Amber stared at the phone for several seconds. Then she dialed. 1 ring. 2, 3. A man's voice answered. Amber. Her entire body stiffened. Victor. I wondered when you'd call. My eyes narrowed. Amber looked at me. You knew. Victor laughed softly. I knew everything. The room seemed to shrink. Amber's voice trembled. Is the baby yours? A pause. Then Victor said. That's the wrong question. I leaned toward the phone. What question should she be asking? Silence. Victor recognized my voice. Mia Kim. I smiled. Nice to meet you. You have no idea what you've walked into. Actually, I do. I glanced at Amber. That's why we're calling. Victor laughed. You think this is about a pregnancy? No. I closed my laptop. I think you slept with her because you wanted access to something. His laughter stopped. And I think you knew exactly who she was. Silence. I continued. You knew she worked for my family. Another pause. You knew she was watching me. Victor said nothing. So here's my offer. Amber looked at me in confusion. I smiled. You wanted something from my family. I leaned back. Now you're going to tell me what it was. Victor's voice became cold. And if I refuse? I looked at Amber's pregnancy report sitting on the desk. Then we'll have a paternity test. His breathing changed. I caught it. He was afraid. Not of the pregnancy. Of the test. My smile disappeared. Interesting. Amber whispered. What? I muted the phone. He's scared. Why? Because he already knows the baby is his. I unmuted. Victor. What? One last question. Ask. Why were you in room 1816 that night? Victor was silent for so long that I thought he'd hung up. Then he answered. I wasn't. My eyes narrowed. But the security footage was altered. I froze. Victor continued. The man in that photograph isn't me. Amber looked at the screen. Then who is he? Victor's voice dropped. That's exactly what you should be asking. The call ended. I stared at the phone. Then the office lights flickered. My laptop suddenly went black. A second later, every computer in the office shut down. Jessica screamed. Geeta jumped to her feet. And Amber's phone lit up with a new message. Stop looking for the father. Then another message appeared. Or you'll find out what happened to the last woman who asked. I didn't waste time investigating from a desk. I grabbed Amber's arm. You're coming with me. Where? Hospital. Why? Because we're getting a paternity test. Her face went pale. You can't just. I can. I dragged her into the elevator. 20 minutes later, we were sitting in a private clinic. The doctor took samples from both of us, then looked at Amber. Once the fetal DNA results are available, we'll know. Amber squeezed her hands together. What if it's Victor? Then you know. What if it isn't? I leaned back. Then we find the man who was in room 1816. 3 hours later, my father called. Come home. His voice was grim. I knew immediately something had happened. When we arrived, security was waiting. My father threw a folder onto the table. Victor Hale disappeared. I frowned. What? His plane left an hour ago. Where? Unknown. Amber's face went white. Then my phone rang. The clinic. I answered. Miss Kim. Yes. The paternity results are ready. I put the call on speaker. The doctor hesitated. The alleged father is not Victor Hale. Amber sagged with relief. Then the doctor continued. But the DNA profile matches another man already in our database. My father's expression hardened. Who? The doctor gave the name. Nobody spoke. Because we all knew him. Mark Evans. Amber's mouth dropped open. What? I slowly turned toward her. The baby is Mark's. She stared at me. But he's married. Yes. And he told me. Apparently he lied. Amber began laughing hysterically. So I'm pregnant with my married boss's baby. I nodded. Looks like it. Then my father received another message. His expression changed. What? I asked. He handed me his phone. A photograph filled the screen. Mark was getting into a car. Beside him was Victor Hale. And in Victor's hand was a folder labeled, Kim Corporation, Confidential. My smile disappeared. Amber whispered. So they were working together. No. I zoomed in. The folder wasn't the important part. Victor was holding another document. A birth certificate. And the name printed beneath mother wasn't Amber's. It was mine. I stared at it. That's impossible. My father stepped closer. What? I looked up. Someone is trying to make it look like I'm the baby's mother. Then Amber's phone rang. A no number. She answered. A distorted voice spoke. You finally figured it out. Amber froze. The voice continued. Now you have 48 hours to hand over Kim Corporation's controlling shares. My father went rigid. And if we refuse? The caller laughed. Then everyone learns that Mia Kim has been hiding a child. I looked at Amber. She looked at me. Neither of us spoke. Then I smiled. Because they had made one very big mistake. They had given me 48 hours. And I only needed one. I grabbed my coat. Dad. What? Don't negotiate. Why? I headed for the door. Because we're going to make them regret giving me a deadline. I spent the next hour turning their entire plan inside out. The birth certificate was fake. The clinic's database had been hacked. Mark had been bribed. And Victor had arranged everything to make it look like Amber's baby belonged to me. But they made one mistake. They underestimated how much access I had to my family's company. I pulled the security footage from the Grand Astoria. The original recording showed Amber entering room 1816. But she wasn't alone. Mark followed her. 10 minutes later, Victor arrived. And 20 minutes after that, another man entered. I froze the footage. Who is that? My father's security chief zoomed in. It was Mark's brother. And he was carrying a medical cooler. The entire story suddenly made sense. This wasn't about Amber's pregnancy. They had been using her. The baby was genuinely Mark's, but they needed Amber to believe it was Victor's so she would cooperate. Then they planned to manufacture evidence connecting the baby to me. Why? Because if the scandal broke publicly, My father would be pressured to step down. That would give Victor the opening he needed to take control of the company. I called Amber. You're going to help me. She swallowed. What do I have to do? Act terrified. I don't have to act. Good. That night, Amber contacted Mark and told him she wanted to meet. He agreed. We followed him. Mark arrived at an underground parking garage. Victor was already there. So was Mark's brother. Amber stepped out of the car. I'm done, she said. Victor laughed. You don't have a choice. Amber's voice shook. You promised me marriage. I promised you money. You said I'd be protected. You were. Then why is Mia still alive? I smiled from inside the surveillance van. Victor's expression changed. What did you say? Amber pulled out her phone. You heard me. She pressed record. I know everything. Mark grabbed her arm. You idiot. I stepped out of the shadows. Take your hands off her. Everyone froze. Victor stared at me. You. Surprised? I held up my phone. The entire conversation is recorded. His face darkened. You think that's enough? No. I smiled. Because your confession is already on every news desk in the city. Victor lunged toward me. My security team immediately tackled him. Mark tried to run. My father stepped out behind him. Going somewhere? Mark stopped dead. My father looked at him with disgust. You tried to steal my company using my own employees. Mark lowered his head. It wasn't my idea. Victor shouted, shut up. Too late. Mark started talking. Within minutes, everything came out. Victor had bribed him to leak confidential documents. Mark had used Amber as a distraction. His brother had altered the clinic records. And Victor had forged the birth certificate. The police arrived before anyone could escape. Amber stood beside me trembling. Then she looked down at her stomach. What happens now? I shrugged. You have a baby coming. She nodded. And Mark? I glanced toward the police car. He's going to have plenty of time to think about fatherhood. She actually laughed. I can't believe this. Neither can I. Then my phone buzzed. A message from Alex. So, boyfriend still imaginary? I smiled. Very imaginary. A second message appeared. Good. Because I'm taking you out tonight. I laughed. Amber looked at me. Is that your boyfriend? No. Then who? I slipped my phone into my pocket. My girlfriend. Amber's jaw dropped. I grinned. Surprise. And somewhere across the city, Victor Hale was probably realizing the biggest mistake he'd made wasn't targeting my family. It was giving me 48 hours. Because I'd only needed 12. By the next morning, the entire scheme collapsed. Victor was arrested for corporate espionage, fraud, and bribery. Mark was fired and charged for leaking confidential information. His brother confessed to tampering with the clinic's records. The fake birth certificate was exposed. And the DNA test proved one thing beyond doubt. Amber's baby was Mark's. When the news broke, Amber's fantasy of becoming a billionaire's trophy wife disappeared overnight. She was furious at first. Then embarrassed. Then surprisingly she laughed. I really thought I was about to marry into a fortune. I looked at her. You almost married a married man. She winced. Please stop reminding me. You remind everyone else constantly. Fair. A month later, Amber resigned. She never apologized properly, but she did leave a note on my desk. I'm sorry. You were never my enemy. I was just desperate to become someone important. I folded the note and put it away. She wasn't my friend. But she wasn't my problem anymore. As for me, I finally stopped pretending Alex was my boyfriend. At least around people who knew us. One Friday evening, Alex picked me up outside the office. She leaned against her car, short hair messy from the wind. Ready. Where are we going? Date. I smiled. That's a new word. Get used to it. I slipped my hand into hers. So you finally admitted you're my girlfriend? She grinned. I've been waiting for you to catch up. We kissed beside the car. Then my phone buzzed. A message from Gita. Amber just had the baby. It's a boy. I showed Alex. She laughed. Should we send congratulations? I typed. Congratulations. Don't let him grow up thinking his mother is good at identifying rich men. A reply came almost immediately. I hate you. I laughed and put my phone away. Alex squeezed my hand. Come on, Mia. Where? Dinner. Who's paying? She gave me a suspicious look. You. I gasped. Then this relationship is over. She burst out laughing. I kissed her cheek. Fine. I'll pay. Good. We walked toward the restaurant together. For weeks, everyone had been obsessed with figuring out who my mysterious boyfriend was. The truth was much simpler. There had never been a boyfriend. There had only ever been Alex. And honestly, I liked that ending much better.